Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Smart Start with Skills. And as you know, we're on the reading journey because we have a reading boot camp coming up for kids. It starts on October 14th, and it is going to be a reading boot camp, reading intensive, you call it whatever you want to call it. But it's guaranteed to get your child reading on grade level within 60 days. Okay. It's a commitment that you have to be committed to with your child for 60 days to get them reading on grade level. So today we're going to be talking about the reading gap. What happens if you wait for too long, right? What happens if you wait too long? What kinds of things can happen to your child? And we're going to talk about some statistics, like what happens long term. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Julie, you want to take it away?
Yes, I do. So, one of the things that we mentioned in our last episode that I want to start this episode off with in terms of waiting too long is just reminding parents of just that reading development. So, the reading development from that primary kindergarten or pre-K grade level to second, third grade, during these years, the children are learning to read. So this is where all the tools come in, all the skills, all the strategies. They're learning they're learning the sounds, the long letters, the short, the blends. This happens during this phase. Now, after third grade, they are reading to learn. And so they're using all of the tools, they're accessing all of the tools given to them in those primary grades to now transition into the complex content and be able to now go from just information being given to them to being able to analyze, synthesize, and really comprehend what they're learning. But if they don't have those primary tools, they're challenged now with being able to use to get into that reading comprehension, which is where they should be by grades 2 and 3. So you mentioned that in our last episode. So I really just wanted to start us off there
Yeah.
because that speaks a lot to parents in terms of like what is happening in those primary grades. And when that gap takes place, then sort of like, where is the gap? Is the gap in the foundational stages, or am I dealing now with the reading comprehension fluency stage? So just wanted to like start us off on that point.
Yeah. Those are all great points. Some of the things that we want to talk about when it comes to what happens if I wait too late or wait too long, right? One of the things that can happen is skills get harder to catch up on. So the longer you wait, the more behind your child is getting in his or her education because they're missing basic fundamental skills that they were not able to get while they were not able to read. So you're not going to just be dealing with a reading gap, you're going to be dealing with gaps in other areas as well. The gap just widens. Another thing that happens is that confidence becomes an issue. The confidence gets taken away because we talked in the last episode about shame about reading out loud or just kind of going to the back of the class. You know, that child who always keeps their head down in the back of the class and tries to be inconspicuous because they don't want the teacher to call on them for to answer questions or to any of it. They don't want to deal with any of it. So they become this recluse child in the classroom, sitting in the back, just kind of not paying attention, tapping their pencils on the desk because they're just trying to do anything to either fade into the background or create a distraction so the teacher doesn't even want to be bothered, right? And you don't want that to be your child. So it can create a lot of really low self-esteem, right? Another thing that can happen if your child is not reading properly is content can move faster than the skills. So again, by third to fourth grade, you're focusing on shifting from learning to read to reading to learn. Like Julia said again, I keep saying it because it is what it is, right? So leaving struggling readers behind, this causes them to be left behind in many, many different areas. I don't think people really understand how deep reading goes in those formative years of your child. So in elementary school, reading is such an important part of your child's education. By the time they get to middle school, and I taught middle school for many, many years, you're like, how did you get all the way through elementary school and this was an issue and no one addressed it? It's that same scenario I talked about before. They became so disruptive in the classroom, the teachers didn't even want to be bothered. Or they
Mhm.
were so quiet in the classroom, the teacher just passed them along.
Right.
So you don't want that for your child. That's why we have people who are graduating from high school and reading, realizing, oh, I don't know how to read. And they were on the honor roll, and you don't want that for your child. Again, the gap keeps widening. Every grade that they're pushed along to, moved along to, and they're not learning how to read, it widens the gap so much. And then when they have to really now sit down and learn all of these things that they should have learned, it can snowball and become something big and just overwhelming, emotionally overwhelming for that child. Okay, because imagine being in middle school, because this reading program, just to be clear, is from elementary to 12. It's not just for element. We're talking if your child is anywhere on that spectrum and you realize, hey, they have a reading issue that is causing them to struggle in other areas of their education, they need to be in this reading program. They need to be in this reading program. And then future opportunities start shrinking. And I've alluded to that before, right? So once the gap is widened and reading skills become weak, as they advance, career opportunities are going to become a problem, right? Even long life learning confidence becomes an issue. So even as adults, they're fearful to go back to school and get that GED. I used to teach GED too, right? So they are fearful of going back to school. I'm telling you, I taught GED and ABE. So in the ABE program, that's for people who can't even get into the GED program because they can't read. So we have to go back and teach them how the fundamentals. I'm teaching phonics, you name it, to get them to a point that they can read enough to then put them into the GED class so that they can take it and hopefully pass and be able to improve their lives. It affects every
Mm-hmm.
facet of your life. And I'm telling you this, I've taught all grade levels except for high school. I have taught elementary, I have taught middle school, I have taught adult education, I've taught college classes. You have to be able to read proficiently. And the biggest part of reading is comprehension and application.
Yep. You said
I
it.
don't know how much more I can say that. Like, I don't want to, I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but I'm trying to really impress upon you guys how important, how imperative it is to become a good reader. Even with words, vocabulary is part of reading too. It's
Well,
part
then,
of reading.
so then I'm going to be the alarmist then, since you don't want to be the alarmist. I'm going to be the alarmist then,
Okay.
because just to sort of even go a little bit deeper and really break this down for parents. So I'm gonna be the one that sounds the alarm. So here's what happens, right? In as the children are much younger in that pre-K to, let's say, grade 2, the brain is more malleable. It's like a
Yes.
sponge. It's able
Mhm.
to pick up information more quickly in those early years. And then what happens as your brain is developing, the interventions, those reading skills that we're trying to impart on them, they just become a little bit more challenging as the years go by. So now we're talking, your child is in 4th grade and they're reading below grade level. And so they're given science textbooks, they're given social studies assignments, they're given math word problems, and they all require fluent reading and comprehension. And as Tracy said, application. And so without these foundational steps, academic performance is going to suffer across the board. Now, she had a really nice way of saying that, career wise, they are lessening, you lessen your child's chances career wise. But I want to share another statistics on the other side of just lessening your child's college opportunities and career opportunities, right? Even vocational programs are
Mhm.
requiring that your child be able to read and write. So here's what happens. According to the National Adult Literacy Survey, and at one point in time, I used to tell my students, your the beds that they count out or put the billions of dollars into is decided on based on your fourth grade score. Apparently, they say it's a myth. Nonetheless, however, current prison population reading levels, according to the National Adult Literacy Survey, 70% of all incarcerated adults cannot read at a fourth grade level.
Mhm.
So, meaning they lack the skills to navigate many everyday tasks. This isn't even reading and writing, just everyday tasks, and hold down anything but a lower paying job, as we mentioned before.
Mhm.
And so the fourth grade connection, a student not reading at his or her grade level by the end of third grade is times less, four times less, four times less likely to graduate from high school, and six times less likely for these students from low income families to be able to successfully obtain the types of career fields that you would like for your child to be able to have. So
Mhm.
I'm going to share another one. Current reading proficiency rate. The scope of the problem is enormous. In the first data released from the National Assessment of Education Progress since COVID-19 pandemic began, 2022 findings reveal that more than two-thirds, 68% of US fourth graders are not proficient at reading. So these are recent statistics. 2022, 68%, two-thirds of the United States population of fourth graders are not proficient in reading. I have to be the person that's
No, I mean, the
bringing it up
statistics
because you
need
know
to
how
be
I get.
told because, I mean, when I say I don't want to be an alarmist, I don't want people to think that, hey, I am just saying this like I just pulled it out of space. I did not. It is statistics, and who's
No,
to
the
argue with the
numbers are real.
statistics?
The numbers
Yeah.
are real.
And I
And
mean,
so
not only are the numbers real,
and
we've
so
seen it from
it's
being in the
very
classroom. Sorry. I'm saying not only are the numbers real, we have actually seen it from being
mhm.
in the classroom. We've seen the test scores. I'm a very data driven person, and I was one of those people who looks at everybody's test score because I want to see where the gaps are, and making inferences, which is the one of the hardest reading skills to teach and for people to learn. Is usually where our kids trip up. And you want to know something about making inferences? You need it for life. You need it for life. It is a core skill in life. And when you're talking to people and you're saying A plus B equals C, and they're like, nah, what you talking about? It does not. It equals K. And you're like, what? They're not able to make inferences. They're not able to read between the lines. You have to literally spell it out for that person, step by step by step, and hope that they get the understanding that you're looking for them to have. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. And I'm truly not being facetious. I'm being really, really honest with what happens when the reading gap is not filled.
Yeah. It's true. And so
It's a
it's kind
lag.
of like we're at a state in our country where oh yeah, it's the lag. So we're at that state in our country where we need to make decisions as parents. We need to make decisions, and we need to make some hard decisions. And so we shared with you what we offer, because there's always hope and there's always a chance. And I worked in high school with special needs students, and I was able to see the gaps close, and students that would not have had an opportunity. And I can say this because I've spoken to them since they've graduated, and the opportunities they had were so much slimmer
Mhm.
before that focus on reading and writing. And now they're like, oh no, but I was able to get this kind of job, or I was able to get into this vocational training because of that intensity. It gave Reading opens the doors and gives opportunities that your
Mhm.
child is being robbed of because they do not have the reading and writing skills needed. And
Mhm.
so on this elementary journey, we're talking about 60 days, and middle school and high school students, yes, it will take longer to get your
Mhm.
child on that reading grade, on grade level for reading. But what we're saying is this now opens the door of opportunities and possibilities that your child is currently being robbed of if it is not addressed. So making sure that your child gets that professional assessment, whether you do it through a school, whether you do it through the doctor, or whether you come through us, because we have the reading assessment, and we will sit down and say, here are the gaps, and
Mhm.
be very upfront and honest with you about what your child will need to be able to close that gap. And you can make the decision after that. But this is what we are offering. We are on a mega campaign to do something about the reading level do our part to address and do something to solve and help close the gap for the reading level in our country. So we're asking that the website is on the bottom, and
Mhm.
that you join us to get more information, at least take the assessment to see where your child is at, and what we can offer
Mhm.
and do for your child to support on our campaign of doing something about the reading level and giving our children an opportunity for the chances that they deserve in their future. There's anything else?
Nope, that's it. Until next time, bye everyone. And don't forget to go look at skillsacademy.org and sign your child up for the reading camp. Bye bye.